Hola, my beautiful lotus flowers. Today's video is going to be very different from all of the other videos I've done on my channel. And if you happen to be new finding this video and watching me for the first time, I'm so appreciative of you being here, but just know that this video is a little different. This isn't how I usually do things, but I hope that you choose to stay because I am hoping that by sharing this, that at least some of you can take something positive from it. Hopefully you can connect to my own story and apply it to yourselves however you see fit, whether you find it inspiring, reassuring, whatever it may be. But I want you to listen to this video not with pity or anything. I want you to listen to it with an open mind and an open heart. I want it to serve as an open field of communication. If any of you are feeling a certain way or can relate, whatever it may be that's on your mind when you watch this, please tell me in the comments below, and I want that to be a safe space. And if any of you are coming to this video without an open heart and an open mind just to be judgmental, then bye-bye. I will have you out of the comments section extremely quick, and we just won't have that here, okay? So anywho, I just wanted to give you a little expectation for today's video. Go ahead and get yourself comfortable, get yourself a comforting beverage of some sort or a comforting, healthy little snack, so that way we can just sit and chat about why I decided to step away from social media for a week and from any content creation for a week as well. First of all, I labeled this video as a shadow work video because what I share has to do with my own shadow work, which is an ongoing process. And for any of you who are trying to figure out how to go through your own shadow work or trying to discover your own shadows, I'm hoping that this video does add some value in that part of your life, in that part of your journey. So that is why I labeled it this. I'm not going to be telling you how to do shadow work, but I am going to be sharing my own shadows and I guess how I deal with those in hopes that it will help you. So if you're not quite sure what shadow work is, just a really vague and brief summary is that it's basically identifying your shadow, the things that maybe cause you to act certain ways, or the things that cause you to become angry, the things that make you have certain reactions, very obvious reactions or negative reactions to things, and really exploring deeper into yourself and figuring out why you are the way you are and how you can work through that and come out at the light at the end of the tunnel, the light at the end of the shadow, if you will. That's basically what shadow work is. So that is why I labeled this video as such. And now let's actually talk about my own shadows. To start us off, let's start with one of the more kind of recent shadows that developed back in 2020 at the beginning of, you know, I don't know if YouTube is sensitive to this stuff, so I don't want to say anything, but the beginning of the, you know, sickness stuff in 2020. And I'd like to say that overall, I guess made my way through that obstacle. I know that was hard for a lot of us. I made my way through that obstacle very positively and very productively as well. And I'm very thankful that I was able to do that with my time. But that is when things in the world really seemed like they were starting to crumble. The world has always been, I guess, chaotic, and there's always a lot of conflicts and a lot of things that are changing, a lot of revolutions. There's always a lot going on in the world. The world is a huge place with a lot of diverse people living on it. So there's always a lot of situations at hand, and I know that. But it was during that time in 2020 when it seemed like things really started to crumble. And I hate having that kind of perspective, especially as an astrologer now. You're able to look at a lot of things and you kind of know that that's what was going to happen, or you know something like that was bound to happen, but it still doesn't always take away the shock or take away the pain that can become associated with that event. And for me, the event that really broke my heart open in a new way And on one hand, I'm thankful for that because that needed to happen to me. But I also, it was very painful. But the first event that really broke my heart open in a way that it hadn't been in a long time was when George Floyd was murdered. And if you're not familiar with the George Floyd thing, I don't know how you wouldn't be familiar with that. But if you're not, definitely look it up. But when that happened, I was so it was really hard. At that time, I had already started making videos on YouTube again, because while everybody was, you know, having to stay home and couldn't go to work and everything, that's when I picked up YouTube again. So I was already making videos by the time that happened. But when it happened, I stopped uploading for like a month. And at that time, it didn't really matter. I mean, I didn't have very many followers like I do now. I didn't have very many people waiting on my videos. And so it was not a big deal for me to step away. But I literally didn't release anything for an entire month, for about 3 weeks, because I just really needed to reflect on what was going on. Because when he was murdered, the world just, something really snapped. That it did need to snap, but it snapped. And I also just needed to reflect on myself and how I'm contributing to the world and what I'm putting out there. And I also did my own education on, you know, justice for Black people in the US and everything. Like, I watched things like the 13th Amendment. I read up on different things, different historical events that had happened. And when I watched the 13th Amendment, which is a documentary that's on Netflix, I don't know if it still is, but when I watched that, I still get emotional I still get emotional thinking about it, because I remember a part in the documentary where there was white men who were throwing rocks at a Black man that was just trying to cross the street. Okay. And, you know, that type of scene might evoke a lot of anger and sadness in a lot of different people, as understandably. But all I wanted to do was jump into that video and jump into that recording of that moment and hug both parties. I just want to hug the man who was just trying to cross the street, who was getting stones thrown at him and getting beat up for no reason. And I also just want to hug the bullies, the bullies, because I don't follow the Christian faith, but I do believe in Jesus and his existence, and I don't follow, you know, the Christian tale of it, but I do believe in him. And one of my favorite things to remember from the Bible is, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that always sticks with me, because I watch things like that and I'm like, I don't see evil people attacking an innocent man. I see an innocent man, and I see people acting out as bullies because they're all damaged. We have a society that is so filled with so many damaged people from different things. It could be physical, mental, emotional damage, but there are so many damaged things in our world that are just, I mean, obviously I can do little things, and those are what matter, but I wish I could literally just hug everybody and sing Kumbaya and everything would be okay, but that's just not the reality. So at that period in time, I really, my heart burst open. And prior to that happening, I realized how closed off I had been in a way, because my emotionally abusive relationship prior to that really taught me to be hard and tough and stand my ground and argue my point. And even though it was good, it gave me a backbone, I didn't realize that my heart chakra had become more solidified and I wasn't being so open with my emotions. And this is something that I still work on now. And let me be clear that shadow work and working on yourself is a forever journey. It's an ongoing journey because we are constantly changing, learning new patterns, unlearning different patterns, etc. So anyways, that burst my heart chakra open. And that's when I started looking into things about like the book, The Highly Sensitive Person. And I started to learn how to embrace that part of me that just wants to reach through the screen and hug those people that other people might feel violent towards or aggressive towards. I wanted to embrace that side of me because for so long, and this goes back to my childhood, I thought being so empathetic and being so sensitive and wanting to just cry at things like that and, and reacting to it that way, I felt like it was wrong because I'm sure we all know that our society tends to put masculine energy on a pedestal, which means being very strong, tough, aggressive, go-getter, ambitious. And it really kind of forces a lot of us to suppress our feminine side where we feel that empathy and that compassion and that emotion. So I had to sit with that, and I spent about a month with that, and I didn't post anything, and I was just really trying to take in what was happening in the world at that time. And I came out of that, and that provided a new path of healing for me, which I'm very thankful for. But fast forward to now, and the things are just still pretty crazy. There's a lot of changes that are happening, and ever since I really dove into my more intuitive side and my empathetic side, and ever since I really cracked open my emotions, now that I've embraced it, I feel a lot of things, I see a lot of things that I didn't used to see. And they say ignorance is bliss. And even though ignorance isn't the right thing, I don't think ignorance is the right path for us to take if we have a choice. But it is bliss. It is a lot easier to feel joy and happy and excited when you're being ignorant. And I cracked that open and I really removed the ignorance. And I always saw things that were happening in the world, but now it was just to a new level because I let that side of me come out, that side of me that I had kept a wall on all this time, and which exposed me to a lot of new energies and a lot of emotions and a lot of insights into what's going on around us too. And I just feel like I see a lot of things or I know a lot of things. I have like an inner knowing where I just feel like a lot of people wouldn't understand, or I would sound very pessimistic or crazy talking about these things. But really what happens is I'm fighting in my own head. And it's really hard to explain this. I feel like this isn't going to come across so clearly, but maybe some of you relate to this feeling. But I see things that are happening and I wish that they weren't. I know that a lot of things are changing in a good way. And I know you can find the positive in everything. I preach gratitude and all of that, but I'm not going to sit here and act like things are always perceived as positive or things always feel positive, because that's just not true. So anyways, I'm sorry, I'm starting to ramble, but anyways, long story short, it's just become hard with everything going on. Those energies really started to overwhelm me, and I've been trying to figure out how to work with those and not let them overwhelm me and how to transmute them positively. But it's been hard and I'm still working on it, and I'm just trying to slow down and be patient with myself, and I'm trying not to look at the world so pessimistically. I just, sometimes I just want to run away, go live on a little plot of land in a beautiful, safe haven, and just forget everything, live a nice slow life and just forget everything, you know. But little things just started to overwhelm me, like me driving. You know, I usually go 5 to 10 miles per hour above the speed limit, and people still get on my tail and they honk at me and they pass me. And I just look at that and I'm just like, why is everyone in such a rush? Why is everyone so angry, you know? And I know why. There's a lot of reasons why they would be, but it just hurts because I don't want it to be that way, and I start to feel helpless. Like, it starts to feel pointless, like there's nothing I can do. And that's really what my emotions were coming down to, is it started to feel like there's nothing I can do. And everything I've been doing with astrology and YouTube and everything just starts to feel pointless, because I feel like there's just too much happening in the world for me to even keep up with, or for me to even begin coping with. And I could go on and on about this, but I have already spoken a long time on this one point. So let's move on to my second shadow. The second shadow I've really been dealing with for a while has been me just comparing myself to people and feeling like people just don't really like me that much. And I've dealt with this all my life for a multitude of reasons from my childhood, but I'm not going to get into, you know, my childhood memories when it comes to that, because it would just make this video way too long. But in the present, I still struggle with feeling like people don't truly like me, or once they really get to know me, they wouldn't really like who I am. And when I started doing YouTube again, because I always felt a pull to YouTube. I always dabbled with it and felt a pull to it. And I always felt like I had something valuable to say and to share with people, and I just needed to find what it was. And I did, through astrology and spirituality. And I just want to preface this by saying that I'm so beyond grateful for my growth, you know, in just a year of me doing YouTube again. I gained 20,000 subscribers, and I am forever grateful for that. But when you listen to me talk about this, please don't look at my results and think like, how could she say that? Like, she's so ungrateful. Please don't do that, because no matter what, somebody could have everything that you think they should be happy to have and still have internal struggles. So just, you know, open mind, open heart. But that being said, everything was starting to get to me because I had multiple moments where certain things just made me feel like I was just getting exhausted. The best way to put it, I was getting exhausted. That's the best way I can put it, is I wasn't letting myself take a break or take a mental break, or I'm not nourishing myself enough, because YouTube and being present on social media will bring those insecurities around yourself. They will force them to the surface, even if you think you've suppressed them. And I thought that I had handled that insecurity well in the past by doing YouTube and whatnot. I'm like, I've gotten so much better at speaking in videos. I've gotten better at being present on social media, more confident. But in reality, that wasn't completely true. I had made progress, and I'm not going to degrade that progress. I'm happy about it, but at the same time, there was a lot more work to do, and I didn't know. But I was getting so consumed by the YouTube analytics. I was getting so consumed by comparing myself to other online healers and mediums, because I was feeling like, even though I was getting these followers, that these followers don't actually like me. And I'm sorry if this sounds, I don't know how this might sound, but I'm sorry if it sounds negative, but I appreciate every single one of you watching this and every single one of you who are subscribed to me. But I started to feel like, yeah, all these people follow me, but I feel like they don't actually like me, because why don't they talk to me? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? And I was really just looking at you guys so heavily to make me feel validated, which is not healthy. And, you know, say I would post something where I need your guys' help or whatever, and people wouldn't listen. And recently what really put the nail in the coffin for me when it comes to that insecurity was starting my Patreon. I launched my Patreon and I was so happy because I worked so hard to figure out what I wanted to offer on it, to figure out, the pricing, trying to be fair, but also be worth my time, trying to figure out like what you guys would want to see as additional content on Patreon. And then I worked so hard on like the November astrology calendar that I uploaded over there. And I was just so excited, right? I'm like, oh, they're gonna love it, they're gonna love it. And I was proud of my first pieces of content on Patreon. And I thought for sure that I would have at least one person sign up for my Patreon when it launched, because I have almost 400 people on my Facebook community. I have 20,000 of you who are subscribed to me. I have around 17,000 people watching me on Instagram. And I just thought that just one person would subscribe to my Patreon, and I was so excited. But that one person never happens. And that really just did it for me. That with everything else, I was like, why? For me, it solidified, because I was in such a bad mindset, it solidified the fact that my following doesn't actually like me like that. Like, my following doesn't like me as much as they like this other person or whatever. And that is so unhealthy. But I'm also thankful that that was brought to the surface, because I needed that to be brought to the surface, because I didn't know that it was still dwelling within me so strongly. But now I can see the shadow, because the situation brought the shadow out when it was hiding within me. So now let's talk about, I guess, how I deal with these things. And this is going to be short, because again, this isn't an instructional shadow work video or anything, but sometimes I realize that there is no answer. We come to these videos, we come to these healers like myself, we come to these healers, these mediums, these teachers online, hoping to get the answer for every problem we have. And I see this a lot with people who come to my astrology placement videos. They come thinking that they're going to get the exact answer they've always needed to their life by learning about their astrology placements. And that's just not true. There's no perfect formula. There's no perfect answer for every situation. And as much as maybe we don't like to hear it, sometimes you just have to sit with these feelings. Sometimes you have to sit with your shadow and get to know it. Really take a deep look at it and examine that shadow and figure out what's going on with it. So I realized I just needed to sit with it. When I stepped back from social media, I'm like, okay, I need to step back from social media. I'm gonna just take all the pressure off myself to post anything like that. And I did. I just stepped away, and I just allowed myself to be lazy. I allowed myself, for the first time in a long time, to just play some video games, binge watch some anime, to just go out and enjoy the fresh air. And even though I still felt kind of crappy, not gonna lie, I was just letting myself be and feel crappy, for a little bit, because sometimes that's just what we need. We don't always need answers. We don't always need solutions. Sometimes we just need to be. So if you're feeling this way, just be for a little bit. And also find gratitude for your shadows. And what I mean by that is be grateful that it is showing itself, because if it shows itself, that's the easiest way for you to identify it and be able to work through it once you're ready. Because if it always stays within you, hidden in your subconscious or whatever it is, then it becomes really hard sometimes to identify what's going on internally. But if you feel this way, if you notice that there's things that are just getting to you, and you start to notice patterns, that is your shadow coming up and making itself known to you. It's showing up right in front of your eyes. And that's the easiest way. Once you recognize it, that's the easiest way for you to start working through it. And that's what I'm thankful for, is because I now identified something that's been within me that I didn't fully realize was there. and it was forced to come to the surface and face me face to face. And I'm thankful for that, because now I know that it's there, and that already takes some of its power away. Identifying it takes some of its power away, because now you know. It's kind of like how, if a magician pulls a scary trick on you, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you're so freaked out, and it kind of scared you because you're like, how do you know that? How did you do that? But then the magician goes, here, look. And he shows you exactly how he did it. You're no longer scared because you know the explanation behind it. So that's exactly the same with your shadow coming to the surface and you being able to therefore work through it from there. So anyways, I really appreciate all of you for watching this all the way through. I know this was a pretty deep conversation. I've never ever just done one of these types of videos. I guess it's my first. I feel like I hit a YouTube milestone, I feel like every YouTuber has one of these. I hate to be that cliche, but I just really hope that you guys took something valuable from this, and please talk about it in the comments below. Tell me what you took from it. Tell me about what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. And this is a perfect time, because we have a new moon, we have a full moon happening, and this is the time to release. We're in a season of seclusion and release, and this is a perfect time for some shadow work. So be sure you don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you'd like to see future videos. I appreciate every single one of you for being here. Thank you so much. And if you want to join me on a more personal side of my journey, you can head to my Instagram at Marisa LaBlue. I also have these videos here that are more instructional and educational if you'd like to watch those until I release a new video. But until I see you next time, thank you so much for watching and for listening. Adios.